911, what's your emergency?
Hello? I saw my dad kill Susan. He killed her. My dad raped Susan. She was my friend. I saw it. He killed her. He took a rock. He threw her in the river. I saw everything. I'm scared. She's gone. I don't feel safe in my home. I don't feel safe around him. I don't know. I'm not okay. I need help. Please help me. I was sitting on the sofa in my family room, and my daughter was playing on the floor with some of her little playmates. And my daughter said something to me, which caused me to look down at her, and I matched her gaze. And at that moment, she really closely resembled Susan. And I remembered seeing Susan sitting there and seeing my father with the rock above his head.
Elaine Franklin Lipsker was 29 years old at the time of the call in 1989. She recalled the events of her father raping her friend about 20 years earlier. According to Eileen, her father, George Franklin, raped her friend Susan Nason, who was 8 years old at the time, and then crushed her skull with a rock. Susan had been missing since 1969, and her body was discovered 3 months later in the woods, on the outskirts of the town. Eileen claimed that she had repressed the shocking memory for about 2 decades.
Memory is not accurate. Every time an event is remembered, the mind reconstructs the memory, and errors are introduced. Memory naturally decays over time, which further contributes to the inaccuracies of reproducing past occurrences. When a memory is retrieved, the brain recombines information, and the memory is modified. Events that occur after the initial memory can then become part of the memory as new information is linked with old information. Vivid and emotionally charged memories are more likely to change than other types of memories because we replay the events in our minds often.
The accuracy and specificity of Eileen's recollection became the basis of the formation of a trial case against George Franklin. Eileen's attorney, Doug Horngrad, later realized that the events of the case did not add up.
I spoke to Eileen to reconstruct the case from the beginning, but every time I asked her to explain the events of the crime, she changed the minor details. She once said that her father raped her friend in a Volkswagen van in the woods, and then another time she claimed that her friend was raped in the van, but this time outside her house. And on a completely separate occasion, she claimed that the vehicle was in a park. So the stories just didn't add up. She gave me about 6 different versions of the same crime. So I needed to speak with her sister to see if she had witnessed the same crime or had any abnormal experiences with Mr. Franklin, their father. Hi Janice, thanks for agreeing to meet with me. So I'm going to ask you a few questions involving your sister's case. So just to start off, have you had any experiences with Mr. Franklin involving any form of sexual abuse? Or have you witnessed anything that was out of character for him?
Alright, let me tell you this. My father was no angel. He would get drunk and beat all of us when we were kids. Me, Eileen, and my brother. My brother and Eileen were often too scared to speak to him. But sexual abuse? I'm not so sure. He wouldn't have raped a girl, especially not someone so close to us like Susan. There's something else. Actually, Eileen has been acting differently ever since that session she went to a few weeks ago.
A session? What kind of session? Can you elaborate on that?
Eileen has been dealing with depression for a while now, and she's been attending therapy sessions since last month. Ever since the session ended a few weeks ago, she seemed disturbed and would constantly talk about sexual abuse and her friend a lot more. I definitely feel like her sessions did something weird to her.
During a therapy session, the therapist will talk about the depression or general condition that the patient is in, and will most likely try to find the cause of the condition. The phrasing of their questions during therapy suggests that there might have been a repressed childhood trauma that develops into the depression or the anxiety that is present now. In other words, the therapist's word choice causes the patient to believe that they might have been through some sort of childhood trauma, such as sexual abuse, that they have repressed over the years. Once the patients recall a memory they believe to have been repressed, the suggestive language paired with the therapy session make the patients strongly believe that the event occurred in their childhood, even with strong evidence against it. In this particular case study, the lawyer is now understanding that there is some sort of connection between the case and the therapy sessions.
Janice definitely made the case more complicated than I thought. I believe the therapy session could definitely answer the gaps and overlaps in the story. I decided to have Elizabeth Loftus, a cognitive psychologist at the University of California, as my expert for the defense. Based on when Eileen started recollecting the memories and how she described her story, Dr. Loftus strongly believes that Eileen had fabricated her memories. Dr. Loftus believed that this was a textbook case of false memory syndrome.
False memory syndrome has been a fairly controversial subject in recent years. If someone was to claim that they suddenly remembered childhood trauma from sexual abuse, but there is no evidence supporting it, should the claim be considered valid? This is exactly what the controversy of false memory syndrome deals with. The accuracy of the claims mainly depends on two factors. One, if the traumatic event never happened, and two, if the memories relating to the event were repressed until the claims were made. The controversy surrounding the false memory syndrome deals with the difference between false memories and repressed memories, which are memories blocked from the conscious mind. Now, the human mind is not capable of automatically repressing or recalling memories on command. So some argue that the natural decay of memories makes the delayed recall of memories possible. But others argue that these so-called repressed memories are never accurate. While some say that since sexual abuse was often covered up or considered to be a taboo subject, these recalled memories are actually memories of traumatic events that the victims were never allowed to speak up about. Some say that having strict authoritative figures during childhood causes these false imaginative memories. In Eileen's case, the physical abuse Franklin caused led Eileen to believe that he molested her friend. However, Janice stated that he was never capable of sexually abusing someone. This is a perfect example of how false memory syndrome develops.
Mr. Franklin was convicted of first-degree murder in 1990 and served time in prison for 6.5 years. He was released in 1996 due to lack of evidence. Eileen's case was studied extensively by many psychiatrists in order to find a potential treatment for false memory syndrome.
Since psychiatrists play a part in the development of false memory syndrome, there have been more regulations put in place to minimize the effects of their intervention. Several psychiatric associations have all put forth best practice methods for cases involving recovered memories. In order to prevent the occurrence of recovered false memories, the psychiatrists are advised to steer clear of subtle suggestions or any reinforcement. Additionally, memory retrieval techniques such as drug-mediated interviews, guided imagery, regression therapy, or hypnosis are strictly prohibited. The prevention of false memory syndrome stems from the regulation of psychiatric practices in cases involving recovered memories.
Eileen has been through a lot over the years to cope with the court case and the damage that it has done to her family and, more importantly, to her life. Although George Franklin was not responsible for the murder of Susan Nason, he was also a very abusive father.
I don't think I knew that it was abnormal. I used to watch the Brady Bunch when I was a kid, and I thought, well, I know when this is over that he beats his kids. I believed that every family was like this. I didn't really believe that there weren't families that weren't like this. I honestly, sincerely believed that all my schoolmates had these really nice fathers when you met them. They were nice at Girl Scouts and nice at school, but in private, they were really horrible people. I really believed that.